Hello and greetings, beautiful humans. It's great to be back and to bring to you another spotlight on an amazing leader. I love doing these and I love bringing great leaders to your ears and to your eyes, however you're partaking in this later. And I do spend time thinking about who it is I want to bring here and who I think has some gold to share. And today we have the amazing, fantabulous Renata Roberts. Hello, Renata.
Hello, that's great. I'm going to take you around with me everywhere just to lift me up.
I'll pump you up. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Renata, but then I'm going to let her tell a bit of her story. And Renata has a load of experience, decades of experience. Her face doesn't tell you actually how much experience she has in the resources industry. I know you've been in all sorts of diverse roles in HR, WHS, risk management, audit, industrial relations, communications, all of those kind of things. So you've really done the whole gamut of what it looks like to be in that sphere. And I know you've also won many awards for Exceptional Woman in mining. You've been an exceptional woman in the resources industry. And I think you're just a pretty darn nice human, Renata. So maybe you should get a tick and award for that as well.
Well, that's lovely.
And so tell us a bit about, because we're really interested in the journey of how people get to where they are. And I'm sure you didn't just wake up or leave school and go, this is what I'm going to do with my career. So how did you come to be doing the diversity of things you've done? Was it always resources industry that attracted you, or was that just an opportunity? How did that come about?
Well, I actually started out as a teacher, but I quickly realised after my degree that I actually wasn't that fond of children. Well, actually, not at least not in the classroom at that stage. Anyway, what I loved to do was coach and help people to grow. But being only 21, my year 10 boys maths class just weren't too interested in my life lessons back then. So I realised that perhaps it wasn't for me. So I did leave the classroom, and it was shortly after that that I actually just fell into a role in a junior HR role in the mining industry. I actually started my first day on the day that Pasminco went into administration. So I thought it was going to be a very short stint in mining, but I did make it through the cut of the transition from Pasminco coming out of the ashes into a new company called Zinifex.
Yeah.
And I stayed in that junior role. But from there, I really did get so many opportunities to take steps forwards, backwards, across, and all over the place. And that kind of took me into a place where I got to see some transformation, cultural programs, merger and acquisitions, due diligence, some hostile takeovers. I got an expat role opportunity, a leadership opportunity. I did a stint in technology just to be able to travel around their international sites. So I really did sort of take any opportunity that was thrown at me, but it was probably the most defining moment from a leadership perspective was where it was probably, I think it was actually about 6 hours before I turned 30, which was my aim. I wanted to be a leader before I was 30. And 6 hours before I was 30, I received an offer for my first HR manager role. And that was to head to Rosebery in Tasmania. So head down to an actual mine site. There was 800 people in the town. There was about 450 of those working at the mine site. I was the only female on the leadership team, HR, Victorian, lots of things going against me. One pub in that town certainly helped me to realise what isolation could feel like and non-inclusion. But at the time, I had a sensational boss who was really a champion of diversity, inclusion, and a champion of helping people to grow as well. And that's what he had his mind, which I'm thankful for, had his mind set on me to help me grow. He then ended up himself got an expat opportunity to go overseas, and he called me up and said he needed help. He had 6 underground zinc mines he needed to open up. He had to build a whole leadership team. He had to turn it around, and he wanted his HR support there. So packed up my husband and I and the dog and cat at the time, and went overseas to Tennessee. So, which was a great opportunity, absolute sensational opportunity. HR doesn't get that opportunity. Normally, it's sort of more technical roles in the mining space, engineers, geologists. So being HR and having that opportunity to go over and experience a whole different culture, and it was a whole different culture. The Tennessee, the mines were about 380 miles apart. There was 3 at mid Tennessee, 3 at East Tennessee, and one of them was in the Bible Belt, and the other one was in redneck sort of valley with, well,
Yeah.
I had to write a policy to stop people from shooting deer during their crib time. Like it was,
Oh my God.
it was a whole different world in Tennessee, and yeah, I certainly learnt to grow very quickly, and it was a very a strong ramp up plan. So we had quite an aggressive ramp up plan, I should say. It was a lot of work, a lot of people to build. We went from 100 to 1,500 people in a short time, and yeah, no, it was quite a lesson. So, and then I got a call, and I was asked if there was any opportunity of wanting to come back to Australia, which I was ready. I missed home, and I landed back in Newcastle, and I thought I'd be here for 3 years, and it's 13 years later.
Wow.
With the Bloomfield Group as Chief Corporate Services Officer, where I think they gave me everything that no one wanted. So I'm HR, safety, IT, contracts, audits. Yeah, and I love the job. I love the company, and it's a great opportunity.
Fantastic. And I love that. Often corporate services kind of GM or chief roles, don't they? They end up with the dump your shit here, if we can say that nicely, that no one else knows what to deal with. And who better than you to take care of that? I love hearing this story and just how it's twisted and turned, but also how some mentors have helped you and the network that you have. It must have also taken quite a bit of courage, I imagine, because there are not a lot of people that I think would have jumped at all of those opportunities that way. And you're obviously good at manifesting, going, I want the job by 30, and literally getting that. Yeah. So where did you find that courage?
Look, I've definitely been fortunate enough to be surrounded by some sensational leaders, but I also believe being around some really bad leaders has helped me as well. So I did learn from the best, and I learned from the worst, and I think that's helped me to grow. I have also had mentors, and one in particular, it was actually shortly after I got to that first leadership role, I was actually assigned a mentor. And I got to say, I was on a panel this week in the Hunter Valley, and I said to them, I'll tell you the story from 2 different Renatas, if you don't mind. The young Renata at 30 that was assigned this mentor, because she was a real bitch. She was not happy at all. I took it as an insult. I took it as it was an offense to who I was. It was like, you think I need this? And he had grey hair, and a gentleman who's been in the industry forever. And I was like, you think this guy has to come and tell me how to do my job? And I did. I was quite rude to poor old Nigel back then. Nigel has heaps more grey hair today. I think he's late 70s, maybe even early 80s now.
Yeah.
And he's still a mentor of mine. And the Renata today would tell anyone, take a mentor as a gift. They are truly a gift, and a good mentor. And my advice to anyone listening is, if you have a mentor that tells you what you want to hear every time, they're not a great mentor. You need the mentor like my Nigel, who will say, I'll ring him up and say, Nigel, this happened today, and he's like, yeah, but Renata, what did you do? And I'm like, well, Nigel, I might have said this, and this. Okay, well, how do you think you could have handled that better, Renata? And look, it's a great conversation. He holds a mirror up to me. He says not what I want to hear all the time. Sometimes he certainly does give me pats on the back, which is nice as well. But that's a real mentorship, and I think I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I had, or certainly not be where I am today without a good few of those along the way.
Yeah, amazing. And was he from your industry? Is that how it worked?
He had been in mining for quite a bit, but he was also defence background, which he was certainly there to help me. I had the I guess the old fashioned fluffy HR. I was very, very light. I loved helping people. Everything was brilliant. My strength and my courage and my looking outside of the square perhaps needed some work. And that's where he really did help challenge me and my thinking a lot.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, go Nigel. And yeah, I love that you said mentors are gifts if we look at them that way. And I think for all of us, we're not in this planet on our own, spinning around in the universe. We, have to interact with other humans. And why not tap into the brilliance, the knowledge, expertise, and the experience of others? I can understand the 30-year-old though, because I probably was a bit the same, where I know what I'm doing, and some tough feedback and tough love suddenly makes you look at yourself in a different way. And if only we had that insight earlier on. But that's part of the journey, right?
It is. And which is why we need to share these stories, because it might help those new to the leadership roles realize it a bit faster than you and I perhaps did.
Absolutely. And I'm the Nigel, like I have grey hair now. So
no, his is as white as anything, don't you?
and given that, have you been a mentor to others, or how's that worked? Because given you've traveled around a lot and had really busy roles, how do you see your role as kind of being a steward of others and bringing them up?
Yeah, look, I love that part. That certainly fills my cup. I think having someone reach out. Because of the awards, as you mentioned, I've had a great opportunity to be given a platform to speak at events like this, or out on panels, or in seminars, and having someone hear my story and then come up and say it resonated with them, or they're inspired by it, and then ask me for feedback or advice. I really enjoy that. I always tell them that I'm going to say what I think, and they need to just take that on board. I mean, again, similar to a mentor, I always say, feedback is a gift, take it on board. You don't have to use the gift. Sometimes we exchange our gifts at Christmas time, or sometimes you put them up in the cupboard and re-gift them. That's fine. I'm just going to say what I feel and what I think, because I have had that experience, but also I'm not them and I'm not in the moment. And I did actually, I had an example of that this week. A young lady came up, and she was amazingly talented. I mean, look out the future. She had a can-do attitude. She knew what she wanted. She had it almost mapped out exactly. And I really felt there wasn't much more I could offer her, other than to reinforce and encourage her to keep going with what she's doing. And yeah, I look forward to looking out. And there's a moment of, even in your own team, I've had people who I've been able to see grow from. I've taken a couple that didn't have any experience at all in HR, but they had the right attitude. They were the right person. They had the smarts about them, and I brought them into a team, and now I see some of them directors of HR in the States, and I've got an amazing talented group here in Bloomfield as well. So that's just an absolute honour to see and do.
And given all of the travel around and really mostly working in male dominated industries, what's been some of the challenges that you've found, or have you had an attitude that's just gone, it's not a challenge? I don't know. I'm curious. What's been the journey being in those kind of industries? And certainly now much more diverse and inclusive. But as you said, when you went to Tassie, small town, back then, not so. What have been some of the challenges that you've had to overcome?
Well, when I started in the industry, there was 8% of the workforce were women. I think we're over the 25% mark now from my last look at that. So I think that tells you one part. I mean, it's not a huge growth in 23 years, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And I would be completely lying if I said it hasn't been challenging. Yes, being there's been often times of not feeling included. And I think that's why I'm extremely passionate now about building that inclusive workplace, not just for women. I put myself in, from people with other religions, other cultures, other experiences, all of that sort of stuff. And I'm very passionate about people not feeling that what I have in my time, over the time, I've been the Renata that had to, or I felt I had to be someone I wasn't. I've drunk whiskey, I've played golf, and I've talked football, and I don't like either of those three things. But I thought it was what I had to do just to fit in. And you don't have to do that now, because that's obviously not why you've been employed. That's certainly not why the manager that took me to Rosebery and overseas wanted me. Because I probably wasn't that good on whiskey too, by the way, but so he probably didn't want that at all. But at the end of the day, you need to be your authentic self. You need to make sure you bring to the table what you have and do. There's no point being someone you're not. That is exhausting, trying to be someone you're not. And I certainly don't recommend that at all. But that has been a lived experience for me. I've done all those wrong things, and tried to be something that I'm not, just to overcome what I thought were barriers, when in fact the barrier perhaps wasn't me, it was from the other end.
Yeah. And so given that as well, it sounds like some of the positions you've been put into also have quite a bit of authority or an opportunity to shape workplaces and all of those sorts of things. When did you kind of find your voice or go, I'm actually going to speak up? Because I know for myself and a lot of people I coach, there is a point in time sometimes where they're like, oh, I sit back in meetings, I just observe, I don't necessarily speak up, or I don't feel like the dynamics there. But there's a point where you do build enough confidence that you go, actually, I have got something to contribute here. When do you think you found that in yourself?
Yeah, I think there's been stages of growth of that. So I certainly realized I had to do it when I was the only female, because otherwise you just, if I sat back and said nothing, I wasn't going to achieve my own personal goals, and it certainly wasn't going to satisfy me. So I sort of slowly started to do it then. In Tennessee, I had to quite a lot. I've got a fantastic photo actually that shows exactly how intimidating it was. I was put as acting, they call it president or GM of the site, when my boss went away on leave, and I had to go around and do a state of the nation and talk to them all on his behalf, and all these um, hillbilly Tennessee miners with tobacco in the side of their cheek, chewing it, looking like they wanted to go grab those guns out of their utes on for me, and they were just very intimidating. But you had to keep going, because I believe you have to believe in what you're saying, and I certainly believed in it, whether they wanted to listen or not listen. So that was a step for me. I think the award process was a huge step for me, and hearing that people actually like my story, that was a bit of a shock to me. And hearing that, it really did show me that we all, and everyone here listening, we all have a story, and your story could influence someone to do something in their sphere of influence, and that's a huge thing to know. And I genuinely believe that, and they're, just having one person reach out and say, hey, I heard you say this, and this made me think differently. I mean, great outcome. So that's reinforced it, and encouraged me to keep going. And then I think probably the biggest one for me is just recently, Bloomfield, just actually this week, we won an award in the New South Wales Minerals Council Health Awards. We took away the prize for a program that is around building respectful and inclusive workplaces where people can be their authentic self, and having that on a light in front of hundreds of people at this event this week, that program has reinforced to me as well, even though I wrote it, it's reinforced to me that we all have a voice, and that we do need to speak up, and there are ways to speak up, and that's what the program's about. It goes through 4 principles, and the principles, one of them is self-reflection. We all need to be better at that, because we need to realize we're not all the same. Everyone comes with different experiences, different baggage, different opportunities. It's very difficult to put yourself in the shoes of others, but we need to learn doing that better, because it will help us to navigate some difficult situations or complicated conversations. And then the second principle is giving and receiving feedback. If we as a society could do that better, it's not just at Bloomfield but everywhere, if we could feel comfortable to say what we're thinking, I don't like the way you spoke to me, I wouldn't mind that job, I need a pay rise, don't those jokes were quite rude, all of that stuff that just sort of makes inclusive and respectful workplaces better. And then if we could receive that feedback better, don't be defensive, take it as a gift, all of those good messages. The third one is negotiate effectively, and in that you could teach a whole lot of things, but the program we focus on is we think emotion makes a situation more difficult. So if we can be better at removing emotion, if we can play the ball, not the person, and if we can ultimately be curious and listen, because that will help us negotiate better. That'll work through a difficult situation. And then the final principle in program one is positively influencing. So if we can be role models, if we can celebrate success, if we can talk about great opportunities, and ultimately experience the good side of things when it happens, we can make a better place. So that's a gift for everyone, and we're out there telling businesses. We're happy to share. We've got lots of information on it. We'd love people to take that up.
That would be fantastic. I mean, congratulations on the award, and love the sound of those principles. Wouldn't it be great if we could get the whole world operating by those? And given what's going on in the US, where you were previously, right now, maybe some of that self-reflection would be great. Would love at the end, we will find out how you can share or how people can get their hands on that. But also knowing that those 4 principles are so meaningful and wonderful, and that it's more than just that culture doesn't change overnight. I'm curious about the journey that went on, and what made you dive into, okay, let's have a look, and how did you get that to be, sorry, I'm stacking lots of questions, but how did you get that to be not just a thing at the exec level, but actually embedded into the culture right across the organization?
Well, like every good program that's going to be successful, it needs a rationale for the change. And the rationale was in the Unfortunate Respect at Work National Inquiry in 2019, I think it was, that came out that put a real spotlight on some of our mining companies and some very disrespectful behaviour. And that did make, like every other company out there, we did look at ourselves and just say, look, is Bloomfield doing enough in that space? And we couldn't put our hand on our heart and say that we were. So it did give us a reason to head out there. We couldn't put the blinkers on and assume that might not be happening in our business. So we started wanting to go around and actually work out how are we going to build a respectful workplace. And we thought at first we were just going to have this rule book. Let's talk about above the line and below the line behaviours, get everyone to align and we'll be all tickety-boo kind of thing. But it didn't work that way. We went around to every single leader once and realised when we got to the end, there's so many different degrees of what disrespectful behaviour is. People saying, copying people to emails, that's disrespectful behaviour, right through to saying something, sexual nature sort of thing. It's like, wow, how can you put those on the same line and give them the credit? But they meant something serious to each of the individuals we talked about. So we realised the rule book wasn't going to work, and another rule book isn't going to happen. And that's where, I guess, those principles came out. We realised, well, what we have to do is give people the tools and the capability to navigate the situation and to work through them. So we went back around all of those leaders and the representative groups and brought these principles at the time, pieces of them to them, with this help. And we started to develop it. And by the end of that round, we had the 4 principles pretty much landed, that they were the ones that we thought would make all of the problems that we'd gathered could have been potentially resolved if we had been better in those 4 spaces. So then after that, the psychosocial code came out. It was another rationale to be able to actually drive some more change. So we reinforced the program again through mentally safe, which was around making sure people felt comfortable to talk about their problems at home so that we can bring fitness for work. So that drove that, and the same 4 principles matched that as well, and worked with the mentally safe and the psychological safety aspect and social psychosocial hazards. So then we went through that process, and now we've realised, well, we're back at the top now with leaders. If they're going to be able to inspire their team, they need to bring them along for the journey and coach these principles to them, because it is something now that we're embedding in the business. And to embed that, we have to do it for new starters. We have to help with transition. We have to help them help us. It's no longer a training package. So we're back through again in a program called We Care, We Inspire, the way that we lead. And that program is about giving the tools in a very intimate training program with our leaders to be able to help them to help their people through the process. So yeah, it's been 5 years, the program. So it's certainly not over, and it isn't over. It's still got more to come. And we've just got to keep reinforcing it.
How exciting that you've been able to be there through all of that, and see that evolution. And I love that you didn't necessarily be prescriptive about a rule book or something like that. And having worked for the regulator, the WHS regulator in the state, I know for sure the companies that had the best safety culture didn't have a safety culture. They just had a good culture that was, respectful and caring and all of those things. And so safety and being safe came out of that, as opposed to a rule book that said thou shalt not do this or thou shalt do that. And those 4 principles, you can hear how that's an overarching rather than just a prescriptive, go this far but not that far, or what does above and below the line look like. So I really appreciate you sharing. And I also reiterate just how important it is to have senior leaders but also managers on board, that everything they think, say and do reinforces that, because otherwise it doesn't matter how great your strategy is it, like, if it's not being lived in the day-to-day, and people go, well, that's not my experience in my team, you've got Buckley's of getting the traction.
Yeah, and I think and traction is certainly something we have to get. And if you don't mind, I might just lead into now my little side project that I do love, as you know, AJ, to talk about. Is I've actually designed 20 children's books all around these leadership traits, including those 4 principles, because I realised that, while we're trying to do it on a day-to-day basis here with our leaders, what a wonderful world it would have been if we had have done it all 20, 40 years ago when we were children, so that when we do get there today, because some of the skills that are needed in that leadership space today, they are challenging for people. And I mean, I'll use that one in particular, self-reflection. It's not easy. I mean, I've studied psychology, I've been in HR my whole time, and even I struggle with it. And I think the reinforcement of these principles to help us to go back to grassroots and do that is really easy. And that's where this book idea, Joan Jackson's Journey, came from. Was I wanted to give those skills to my son, who was 4 at the time when I started writing them. He's 9 now. And I wanted him to be able to apply these principles. So I've written them in a way that he could understand, but it's helped me to understand them too, as I've been developing them. So I think, we definitely need to keep reinforcing it and starting early and continuing all through our life, and never being that leader that thinks I'm great at what I do today. We can all be proud of what we do. We can all believe that we're, got our best intent. But a leader that wants to continue to grow and wants to continue to improve, I mean, that's who we all should be, and certainly who I like to think I am, with all of the training and the reading and the coaching that I ask for, to keep being a better leader tomorrow.
I love what you do with Joy Jackson's journey. And if anyone's ever seen your books, they're so colorful and vibrant and alive and just beautiful. I can't believe that you did 20 books in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm sort of one of those people that do what I say I'd do, and gosh, I wish I'd said 5 at the start. But for some reason, I had 20 in mind, and they all linked to this leadership capability model. And so anyway, I did 20. Yes.
It's like I want to be a manager by 30. Like you're just
Yeah.
very good at manifesting. So careful what you put out there. But what I love about the Joy Jackson's journey, and the first I'd heard of them was at our Thrive Stars event maybe 2 years ago, and you actually brought the books and had them there, and I got to have a look and a read. And I think out of all the topics that when you go to a big bookstore or even at the airport, you know, and you see all the books in the news agents for sale, there's always hundreds of leadership books. And, you know, I often think, oh, there's no new fundamentals in leadership, and it's all kind of the same stuff, just massaged and regurgitated. But also they're all big chunky books, like, and as leaders, we often don't have time for that. And I actually think, as much as I love that you're doing your bit for bringing up the next generation and strengthening the leaders that are going to be our leaders tomorrow, I actually think they're a really great read for leaders today. And I love the simplicity of it and that it breaks it down to that. And I could see them being so useful just in everyday workplaces as well.
Yeah, well, and it certainly was the intent. They did come from a bad day at work when I was having a struggle with a leader that I just couldn't get them to see that a bit of vulnerability and owning a mistake would be a great move. And I really struggled. But then I went home, and my 4-year-old Jackson, and it's actually the very first book, he did actually break a chair and tried to hide it from me. But I got him to actually own his own mistake, learn from the lesson, and we talked about the fact that he wouldn't have. It was an error. He didn't mean to do it, and he did everything that the book said to that the leader at work couldn't do. So I thought, well, I'm going to make sure that I give books out to every leader I come across.
Wise mind of a 4-year-old. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And what a great lesson to learn so early on, right? Because then we go the capacity to handle that. And a lot of managers and leaders I'm talking to are challenged with multi-generational workforces and saying young people have a different work ethic and all of those sorts of things. No, they're just different, and they've grown up in a different environment and a different world with different technologies and all of that. So how are we as leaders going to adapt? And only this week, while I've been working with the Ministry of Health, there was a couple of leaders around the table when we were talking about challenges, and they were saying we were facing these challenges a decade ago and we still haven't quite nutted it out. I was really proud of them. 2 of the leaders actually said, maybe we as leaders need to look at how we're leading. And rather than just blaming the system or the staff, actually go, what do we need to do differently? Maybe we need to learn some new skills or some different things. So I might send them a link to Jackson's journey. And so before I open up for some questions from some of the people on here, I'd love to know, given you did move around a lot in your career and have all of these opportunities in the beginning, but now you've been there at Bloomfield and kind of been in the Hunter for 13 years, what's next? And have you started manifesting and speaking that, or are you not sharing yet?
Look, I do. Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. I think what's next for me is spending some time on others. Has been my call out. I think a couple of years ago, I just decided there's a few absolutely amazingly talented people around me that I would like to see do the best that they can do. So I've definitely put a pin out there that I want to help other people outside of and grow. From an internal personal point of view, I definitely want to start to look more at the boards. I do. I did want to be on a board before I was 45, and I got there too, which was great. But I think I wanted to be on a couple of boards by the time I'm 50. So I've got 3 years to work on that and start to, because a board is, I'm on the First Chance, not-for-profit, fantastic business who do a lot of amazing things for people in need, children in need. And being on that board has really helped me to lift at being better at asking questions, which was a part of leadership I wasn't great at. I was very good at telling people how to do things, not actually asking them how to do things. So I think that's really helped to grow me there, being that, curious, a bit more future focused as well, to get the lens further out a little bit more. So yeah, I think the board opportunity is definitely out there, and I'll see if I make the 50, a couple of boards by the time I'm 50.
Oh, I think if anyone's listening to this, they're going to be like, quick, ring Renata and be number two.
Help her out.
Yeah, and I know I've done some work with you and the board at First Chance, and Darlene, as the CEO, has a great rapport with the board and an excellent example of how you can have the governance working with the operational so well. And great to hear you're thinking more that way. I think lots of our local amazing women like Sam Martin Williams are demonstrating how much value they can add to boards like the airport and banks and those sorts of things. So I'm guessing you will easily get to that number in the next 2 years.
Well, I certainly didn't say 20, so that was the smartest move.
Yeah, good. And really interesting, isn't it? The board of First Chance, 20 children's books, and way back starting out as a school teacher and deciding I'm not that fond of children. It sounds like you've come full circle.
Oh, I'm definitely fond now. I've got an amazing little man, and I would have had 20 of him if I could have. But
Yeah, yeah. So I'd love to end by just asking, what are you most grateful for now?
What am I most grateful for? I am most grateful for someone I haven't mentioned yet, and that is my husband, Neil. Neil and I have been together since we were 15. You get less time for murdering someone these days.
Yeah.
But we've been together for over the 30 years, and he has helped me through long days, tough conversations. He's come to Rosebery, he's gone to the States, he's come back to Australia and moved to a place we knew nothing about in Newcastle. He's my best friend, and yeah, I couldn't do a lot of, or any that I do. He's a distributor of books now. He's a fantastic marketer, and yeah, I'm most grateful for the friendship and the love that he's given me, and our little family of 3 now with Jackson. I just love going home to my HelloFresh meals made by him. He's a brilliant home daddy, and he's allowed me to take on all of the challenges and opportunities that I keep getting myself into.
How wonderful, and kudos to you, Neil. If ever you listen to this, hats off. And I think it reminds me of the blue zones and how you hear about people who are centenarians and they say, what's their secret to a long, happy life? And often they say it's this close-knit friendship circle or some close family members or a partner that supports them and knows, I guess, that deeper side, or like you said, the self-reflective, actually having someone that knows the whole of you and supports that. So wonderful
look,
to hear.
I will also call out, because I see a wonderful name here, Natalie Butler. She's also one of those circles to me as well. Like there's talented people, like I said, around me that are fantastic inspirations to me. She's one of them, and has so much to offer, and I get a lot out of that too. Like that's amazing to be connected to such talented people, and like yourself, AJ, as well.
No, thank you. And really, doesn't it, the water level rises for us all when we all actually make sure no one falls through the cracks and we do put a hand out and those sorts of things. So thank you for the amazing what you do, not just in your employees and what you're doing at Bloomfield, because I am sure the ripple effect of that goes beyond just the workplace into their families and communities as well. But with your book series, just phenomenal. Your legacy, may it live on for a very long time. How might people get in touch with you or purchase a book, or all 20, or find out more? How do they go about doing that?
Yes, so if you can head for the books, head to the website joinjacksonsjourney.com.au. And for me, please link LinkedIn, and I'm actively on it. Send me a message. I'd be pleased to send out my details. I do love connecting with people and following people and learning from them, and I'd love to help out anyone that needs some support.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was amazing. Gosh, such a rich career. Who's got questions, comments, thoughts? You're more than welcome to jump in.
I loved that, Renata. Thank you so, so much. I actually jumped online and I've ordered the books.
Oh, thanks, Karen.
Yeah, because I just had a little squeeze as you were chatting. I've got 5 little nephews. I reckon this will be right up their alley, and I'm going to read them too. It's just such a great initiative. Well done, and just so inspiring listening to you talk today. Just thanks so much for sharing with us.
Awesome. Lucky nephews. Just make sure you don't crease them when you open them up first to read them.
I'd like to say a few words. Renata, I could actually just jump through the screen and give you a big phone hug, but that's probably not politically correct anymore, is it?
Oh, I'll take it anytime.
I felt like saying snap. I have the little family of 3, and I appreciate what you say about your husband, because without my husband, I couldn't do what I do.
We do sometimes forget them. I felt bad I left him to the last minute, but maybe you can cut that, AJ, when I get a version for me, put him at the front.
Okay. Beautiful. Greg, Hannah, or Nat, any questions or thoughts? You don't have to, but that's all good.
Not for me at the moment, thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Awesome.
I will add one. As you've heard, I have the pleasure of knowing Renata quite well, or Marty as I refer to her, but I love every time, whether we connect on our own friendship or through our children, or in a professional context, Marty, I just always learn something additional, which I really loved. Thank you for always sharing your story. And as you say, you're always inspiring by sharing these moments of lessons or reflection, or in whatever context it is, there's like a different soundbite that you'll share. And I do have a question actually, and I was prompted to your point about positive influence. And it got me thinking and reflecting on your history of work, and how when people stay in workforces for longer time, so they can have that privilege, if they've got a good manager or a bad manager, to learn and adapt. And it just made me reflect on this younger generation, where we're seeing that people are staying in workplaces for shorter amounts of times. And with that call, I guess, from you to positively influence for future leaders, such as this group today, what impact do you think that has for future leaders to inspire and positively influence on a day-to-day level, but also in that future leadership role?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think AJ touched on it with, people are saying this new generation.
Yeah.
I probably am one of those people, because I think you're going to have to do it faster. We're going to have to really cut through the line and build that trust, have that vulnerability, have some programs that set up it faster than we've done in the past. Because before we would build, I mean, I know myself, it took a good couple of years to get to the point where I am with my team, where that being able to positively influence was there and strong, because we built that relationship. Whereas now I think, so one tool I will give, because I would love to give the tools, is I think in our meetings, in my meetings, we have and First Chance as well, we have a 1 word, 1 gratitude, and we encourage our team to say how they're feeling in 1 word. And that 1 word, the reason we do that is because I want to know as soon as I can, as fast as I can, what frame of mind are they in? And then the gratitude, it opens up an opportunity for us to share a story. And it's often a personal one. It might be something about inside, outside work. And I think that one example is helping me. If I got a new starter today, they're in an uncomfortable space to straight away jump in, 1 word, 1 thing. And I'm starting to build that relationship with them, because I've got to get onto it to be able to build the trust to positively influence. Because you're right, they'll be out of here within 3 to 4 years. They're not going to be 13 years like me sticking around anymore. And we've got to, as leaders, we've got to have to build better governance, better systems, better processes to understand the turnover, to build all that. So it's probably made our jobs even a little bit more harder again.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I couldn't agree more that the organisations you see move ahead quickly now are the ones that actually have that feedback culture and give feedback really quickly, and where it's become a, like you were saying, play the ball, not the player. So that feedback is given rapidly. It's like the white lines on the road, I say, and it just steers people in the right direction. The organisations that are doing well do that very quickly and iteratively, is what I'm observing. Yeah. And I think you're right with the generations. I was facilitating something for Essential Energy recently, and there was some older generation people saying, yeah, younger generations don't have a work ethic and don't stick around. They want 10 careers and they want to be the CEO in 2 weeks. But one of the younger generation actually said, yeah, but we don't have the job security and the ability to buy a house like you did when you were our age. That you got a mortgage, you settled down in a town, you built a family, and so you were more likely to stay in a job because you had that family community kind of stability. And they said, we don't have that because we can't afford a house. And this was in a capital city. And they said, so we shop around for the next best job and opportunity because we spend our excess money on travel and other things because we know we can't afford a house. So it was really interesting perspective. That rather than blaming them for not having that longevity, they were saying, do you blame us? You know, we don't have the connection that you had, maybe. Yeah, fascinating. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for, I know you have such a busy, big role and committing this time to us this morning. We gratefully accept all of your wisdom. I took notes. I was like, oh, I've got to remember I'm actually talking to you because I'm taking notes along the way. And I hope that Neil's happy and sees a spike in the purchase of books.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks so much. Have a great day and enjoy your wet weekend.
Yes, enjoy.
You too.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.